Every great civilization eventually disappears. Its language dies. Its religion is forgotten. Its cities are buried under centuries of sand and silence. That is the rule of history. And it is nearly universal. Iran broke the rule. Over the last 2,500 years, the land and people we now call Iran have been conquered by Greeks, Arabs, Turks, and Mongols. They have seen their capitals burned, their libraries destroyed, and their ruling dynasties erased entirely, some of them more than once. The poetry of Rumi and Hafs written under foreign occupation became the literary inheritance of the entire Islamic world. A civilization that should have been absorbed and forgotten instead absorbed its conquerors, turning their religions, their languages, and their cultures into something distinctly Iranian. How does a civilization do that? How does it bend without breaking again and again across more than 24 centuries? That is the central mystery at the heart of this documentary. In the chapters that follow, we will trace the full arc of Iranian history. The glory and the catastrophe, the empires and the revolutions, the poets and the kings, to uncover what makes this civilization one of the most resilient and most misunderstood in the history of the world. Long before emperors marched their armies across the ancient world, long before the name Persia stirred fear or wonder in distant lands, there was the land itself. The Iranian plateau rises from the earth like a fortress built by nature. Ringed by the Zagros Mountains to the west, the Albers Range sweeping along the north, and vast salt deserts stretching across its interior. This elevated heartland sits roughly 1 million square miles of mountain, steppe, and arid plain. It is a land of extremes. Winters bite hard in the mountain passes. Summers bake the central lowlands into cracked pale earth. And yet along the river valleys and mountain foothills where water found its way, life took hold with remarkable tenacity. This geography was never merely backdrop. It was destiny. The plateau sat at the very crossroads of the ancient world, connecting Mesopotamia to the west with Central Asia to the east and the Indian subcontinent beyond. Any civilization rising here would absorb, resist, and ultimately shape the great currents of human history flowing around it. The earliest permanent settlements appeared thousands of years before the Common Era in the fertile lowlands near what is today the southwestern region of Iran. Here in the shadow of the Zagros Mountains arose one of history's most overlooked civilizations, Elam. By around 3000 BCE, the Elamites had built a sophisticated society centered on the city of Susa, a metropolis of temples, administrative buildings, and bustling trade networks. Their script, their art, and their political institutions placed them firmly among the great civilizations of the ancient Near East. Contemporaries and rivals of Sumer and Babylon. Susa itself would endure for millennia, changing hands and identities, outlasting empires that believed themselves eternal. Then, beginning around 1500 BCE and continuing for several centuries, something transformative began. From the steppes of Central Asia, waves of southward and westward onto the Iranian plateau. These were the Indo-Iranian peoples, sometimes called Aryans, a word meaning noble in their own ancient tongue. They brought horses, distinctive pottery, and a reverence for fire that would eventually evolve into one of the world's oldest living religions. Gradually, two major groups settled and consolidated. The Medes established themselves in the northwestern regions in the Kula highlands near modern-day Hamadan. The Persians drifted further south and east, settling eventually in a region they would call Parsa, known to the Greeks as Perseus. For centuries, these groups remained tribal confederations organized around kinship and cattle, largely overshadowed by the thundering empires of Assyria and Babylon pressing in from the west. They were to outside observers peripheral peoples of little consequence. But the plateau had a long memory, and the mountains had a habit of producing extraordinary things. For generations, the Medes had lived as scattered highland clans, paying tribute to Assyrian overlords who viewed him as little more than a source of horses and conscript soldiers. But around 700 BCE, something shifted in the mountain kingdoms of the northwest. A chieftain named Deioces, described by the Greek historian Herodotus as brilliant and calculating, understood that survival required unity. He built a reputation as a supremely fair judge, arbitrating disputes between quarreling tribes with such skill that his fame spread across the highlands. Then, in a move of breathtaking political theater, he withdrew his services entirely. As the tribes fell back into chaos, they did the only thing that seemed logical. They made Dios as their king. His first act was to build a capital worthy of that ambition. Epatana, situated in the cool highlands near what is today the city of Hamadan, rose from the earth as a monument to Median power. Ancient sources described it in almost mythological terms. A city of concentric walls, each ring painted a different color, the innermost gleaming with silver and gold. Whether the legends
matched the reality matters less than what Ecbatana represented, a permanent center of gravity around which a people could organize themselves as something more than a collection of tribes. But it was Dios's grandsons who transformed the Median kingdom into a true military empire. Saxiure was a modernizer. He reorganized his army along professional lines, separating units by weapon type, creating distinct divisions of spearmen, cavalry, and archers. It was a reform that made the mess genuinely dangerous on an open battlefield. His opportunity came from an unexpected direction. The Assyrian Empire, the most feared military machine the ancient world had yet produced, was cracking under the pressure of constant revolt and internal succession struggles. Keixer recognized that even great empires die when they exhaust themselves. He forged an alliance with Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, cementing it through the marriage of his granddaughter to the Babylonian prince Nebuchadnezzar. Together, they turned on Assyria with devastating coordination. In 612 BCE, their combined armies descended on Nineveh, the Assyrian capital that the prophet Nahum had called the City of Blood. After a siege that lasted months, the walls fell. Nineveh was burned to its foundations. The Assyrian Empire, which had terrorized the ancient Near East for centuries, simply ceased to exist. The ancient world had witnessed nothing quite like it. The Medes claimed the northern and eastern portions of the former Assyrian domains, extending their reach from Anatolia in the west to the borders of Central Asia in the east. Under the last great Median king, Agis, this empire reached its territorial peak. It was vast, wealthy, and apparently unassailable. And yet within the empire's own borders in the southern province of Parsa, a Persian prince was growing up in the Median court watching everything. That Persian prince had a name. Cyrus, second of that name, born of the Achaemenid clan, raised partly in the shadow of his Median grandfather's court. He had watched Astyages rule. He had learned what power looked like from the inside and what its weaknesses were. Around 559 BCE, Cyrus became king of Anan, a Persian sub-kingdom within the Median sphere. For a time, he paid his tribute, kept his head down, and waited. Then he stopped waiting. The revolt against began around 550 BCE. And what followed was less a bloody war than a collapse. Median commanders deeply resentful of Agis defected to Cyrus mid-campaign. The Median army dissolved where it stood. Agis was captured alive, reportedly treated with mercy, and the great fortified capital of Ecbatana simply changed hands. The Median Empire did not fall on fire. It fell in silence from within. Cyrus absorbed rather than destroyed. Median nobles retained their positions. Median customs and court protocols continued. He understood something that most conquerors never grasped: that the machinery of empire is more valuable than the satisfaction of demolishing it. His next target was Croesus, the fabulously wealthy king of Lydia in western Anatolia. Croesus had famously consulted the oracle at Delhi before marching east, receiving the prophecy that if he crossed the river Halys, he would destroy a great empire. He crossed the river. He did destroy a great empire, his own. The two armies clashed near Sardis around 547 BCE. Croesus retreated, believing the campaign season was over. Cyrus pressed.